What is going on? This is Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman, and you're now checking into Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast where we help you tap into your full potential. And on this week, so just quick catch you guys up over the last week. Had an amazing time. Went back out to Denver to be a part of their event. There was an event out there. I got to keynote speak that, and that was real dope. Like I love getting to pour into people. I love sharing pretty much the basis of where the podcast came from, where Breakthrough Blueprint came from. The podcast was actually a workshop, so I got a chance to go out there and keynote a part of the workshop for them. And it's always a good vibe, good experience. But I'll tell you what, this time around, that altitude whooped my ass. Like, so I was in Denver like 2 weeks ago, but it was a quick one. Like, I flew in or got in like around 11 p.m., went to the hotel, got up that morning like 9, went in, taught a class, and went straight to the whole to the airport after that. So I really didn't get that full effect. But this time around, yo, crazy. Like, I was in the Uber on the way from the airport to the hotel, and I just started breathing heavy, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on? Why am I breathing so heavy?" And then it reminded me. And then when I was getting ready to speak, I was just sitting there and breathing hard, and I'm like, "Yo, this is crazy." And it just reminds me of how, when sports players go out there, when sports teams have to go to Denver and have to play out there, I can just imagine what they be going through. Like, but they're professionals, right? They do what they got to do. They got to get to it. So, shout out to everybody in Denver. Shout out to the people that go to Denver and have to operate out there. Like, it really made me feel like, man, I kind of want to push myself to a limit and do a Spartan race out there. Like, just go, let's just get after it. But I know that'll be definitely a big thing, a big task to do, not only just for Spartan race in general, but now including the altitude. And back in the day, I used to train out with one of those elevation masks. Like they used to put it on, and it was like you're training at altitude. But what the thing with those is you have to wear them all the time for it really to take effect, for it really to do anything. But yeah, just wanted to share that with you all and talk about that experience, just how it was a great time going out there and pouring into other people. Yet today on this episode, so the episode is coming out for a situation that literally happened on my way here to do the podcast to the office. I got into a car accident, and it was a crazy situation where you know the lady was in front of me and going down through downtown Chicago. For my people from the Shy, y'all know when you pass White Sox Stadium and you're starting to make that turn going past 22nd Street, Cermak, and you're going to make that swoop around to get to downtown. I was there, and the lady like hit her brakes. Now I hit my brakes, but I don't know what happened. Where I guess it didn't catch in time, where it just slid right into her. And, luckily, big thing, everybody was okay. She was okay. I was okay. There's a little damage to, the grill of the car, but other than that, it is what it is. But everybody walked away okay. And, she was like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, you good?" She like, "Yeah." She like, "Listen, if you good, I'm good. Let's just go. And I don't want to have to deal with all this." She was probably late for work, whatever the case may be, but we're good. And as I was driving in after that, it seemed like, sometime life hits you literally just to remind you what truly matters. And for my teachers, for my people that teach classes, for you all that do podcasts or you do motivational things, it's like it was one of those situations where I had to practice what I preach to people, right? Where, I talk to people, I say, "Hey, we know what can go wrong, real go wrong. Shit happens. And we just have to keep going. Like we can't really, stress on none of those things. And then that was the moment where everything slowed down. Like it slowed down. Accident happened. First thing I did was grab my insurance card, get my ID. We're still on the middle of the expressway. Well, we're on the left hand side. Get out of the car, hazards on, and we talk. Yet everything slowed down. Nothing else mattered. Not what I was going to the office to do. Not what I was thinking about I need to be done this week. Not what has to be done this weekend. Like all of that stuff shut down. And my perspectives, it switched in the moment. Again, it wasn't, I'm not trying to set the picture of like it was a drastic car accident. I've been into some drastic car accidents where I've had to go to the hospital or my sister was in one. Like we've been through those things. Yet it's still one of those instant reminders that life can change in a second. Life can change in a second. And we talk about this a lot, especially when I'm teaching classes. I talk about this a lot. I bring this up a lot of like what can go wrong will go wrong and things can change in a second. And it's that constant reminder that in the snap of the finger, things can change. And that's one of the things that we have to, remember as we are going through life that like we gotta also have gratitude for everything. And that was one of the big things. And just the reflection of I am grateful that this was not worse than it was. I'm grateful that the car behind me didn't hit me. Now it's a chain reaction where not only is it my car, the car in front of me, but the car behind me, and so forth, where we also seen things like that happen where it's that chain reaction. And I was grateful for that. Start thinking about the fam, start thinking about the kids. Like all of these things start going through your mind when certain stuff happen. And it's that reminder that you have to have gratitude over everything. We always have to live in gratitude. Even after that, I wasn't really upset. It was one of those situations where, your adrenaline rushing. Your adrenaline rushing, you're keeping it going. You like, why did this happen? And I had to catch myself. Remember, we talk about that a lot where we can't control our first thought, we can control our second one. The first thought that came in my mind was like, damn, here we go. Why is this happening? Yet my second thought was, bro, you literally was able to drive away. You have a crack grill, but you were able to drive away. The young lady in the car in front of you, she was able to drive away. So she's able to get back to her family. I'm able to get back to my family. The people behind us, their day wasn't interrupted that much because of the situation where a lane was shut down because of an accident. Just really had to reflect on the things that I was grateful for. And I'll say this again, that first thought was like, here we go again. Things aren't going to work out. And for you all that listened to last week episode, it was either last week or the week before where I talked about when I was talking to my coach, and I'm like, nothing is going right. And she's like, is it, are you sure about that? If can you really sit back and think nothing was going right? And I sat back and I'm like, no, that statement is 100% false. And that was the first thing I thought when I had that thought of like, oh, here we go again, something happened. And then she came to my mind as well, too. Like, no, this is just a part of life. This is what's happening. This is what goes on. And then again, like I said, thought about the fam, thought about the kids. I talked to my oldest daughter this morning, just chatting it up with her. Talked to Madison, my youngest, this morning, took her to school, and thought about them like, okay, I still get to have conversations with them. And gratitude, that's one of the things where we talk about this a lot. I talk about this starting our day with gratitude. Gratitude can literally shift how we see our daily routines and quote unquote problems, right? And I talked about this when I was doing my keynote in Denver Friday, where Something go wrong, just start shooting out gratitudes, things that you're grateful for. And then we realize that, yeah, this situation happened, yet I have a lot to be grateful for. Okay. This fender bender, we call it the fender bender, right? This fender bender happened. I was only, it only took a little bit of my time. I still was able to make it to where I needed to make it to. I was still able to do the things I needed to do. I am grateful that I was able to still do the things I needed to do. I was grateful I was able to make it to the place I needed to make. And that's one of the things I want for you all there. When things are going rough, when things are going bad, how can we shift our mindset? And one of the big things is live in gratitude. Gratitude is everything. Once we reflect on all of the things that we are grateful for, all the things that we should be grateful for, those little inconveniences don't mean that much. Another big part of it was that illusion that you are in control of things. We are not in control of anything but our thinking and our response and how we show up. We plan, we schedule, we grind, but we're never really in control. You hear people talk all the time like, I control this, I control that. No, we're never really in control. We can plan, we can schedule, we can grind, but we're never really in control. We can just control the things that we do, but the overall picture, the grand scheme of things, we don't control nothing. We don't control anything. And then that's one of those highlights we get when we have situations like this happen that we can't control that. You look at other situations of car accidents where you see the individual where they're sitting at a red light. They've done what they were supposed to do. They stopped at the red light, their foot on the brake, they're not moving, and yet something happens. So again, we have to just that constant reminder of we don't control everything, we just control what we do. And then, perspective. We ever talk about perspective. Perspective is a part of growth. How are we changing our perspective when things happen to us? When the inconvenience come up, is the perspective we have about it like something always going wrong? I can't win. I can't win. Or okay, I go back to great being, gratitude. I am grateful that yes, this situation happened, and I was able to still move along and do the things I needed to do. And I talked about this earlier, but I really want to highlight it that in business or in life, we cannot control everything, but we can control how we respond. We can't control everything, but we can control how we respond. We talked about it before. We can't control our first thought, but we can control our second thought. And that's a constant thing that we need to work on where people feel like they have to be perfect, where they just don't have those first thoughts at all. That they're not supposed to have that response. But yes, we're humans. You're going to have that response. Yet, what is your follow up thought? What is your follow up response? My first response was, "Oh, here we go again. Something else happened." Then my follow up response was to that. My response to that response was, "Bro, you were inconvenienced for about 5, 10 minutes. He was okay. I was okay. I'm back on the road, going to where I need to get to. Yes, I have a slight little damage, and material things can be fixed, replaced, but we can't." Another thing that popped into my mind was it kind of forced me to slow down and it created some clarity around some other things. And again, mind you, this was like a little fender bender. There's some damage, but it was still enough to where it forced me to slow down and start creating more clarity around things that I'm doing. And that's what a lot of these situations do. It forces us to slow down. I remember when a time where I tore my MCL, and that forced me to slow down a lot. When I mean it forced me to slow down where I was just at home for a while, and then I was like being a hard head, like I'm gonna drive, I'm gonna go do this. But these situations force you to slow down, force you to reflect, force you to get clarity, and then it's like, okay, I can see things bigger now. I'm not in the midst of things. I took a step back, and now I can have a clear vision of what's going on. And I know we do this in business, and we also do this in life where we push so hard that we totally miss the message of what's going on. Where you're so busy, and people hang their hat on being busy, busy, busy. But when you're being busy, 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 you miss what the clear message is. Like you pray for something, but you're too busy that when that blessing comes, you're not even able to identify it because you're just constantly going, you're busy, you're pushing, you're pushing, you're pushing. And during this time of year, we talked about business plan and clinic, and the holiday season coming up. It's okay, and I tell people to even through the week where people try to work 7 days a week. Like, hey, you need one day to pause and get in line with your purpose. That can look like your purpose, or that can look like your goal. That can look like the reason why you're doing stuff. Get realigned with it. For my business people, I'm gonna relate this to business. And we're in business planning season. You create your goal, but are you looking at your goal consistently, or are you just going, going? Like I said, we need that pause. We need to realign with our purpose, which our goal. We need to constantly look at it. That way, we can just make sure we stay in alignment with it. And then for me, I'm looking at this as okay. This is one of those things where two ways you can look at it. Saying, hey, I needed to take a step back to realign with my purpose, or hey, this means some great stuff is coming up for you. That was one of the old quotes that I love and talk about and see that, like, when things are when things are going good, you're going in a direction you want to be in. Stuff is going to happen to test you. Things are going to happen to try to throw you off of your game and what you want to do. But when you stay focused, you stay committed to it. Like, no, I'm still committed to the goal. I'm still committed to this. It's that breakdown before the breakthrough. And remember, we talked about last week, you can't focus on the breakdown and the breakthrough at the same time. So if I try to soak in it and think about the breakdown, I'm going to miss the opportunity for the breakthrough, right? We can't focus on both. Now, just like driving, we have to keep that awareness. We know that. But I want to relate this to your personal life. I want to relate this to your business. What are you letting distract you from accomplishing the things you want to accomplish? Because we know distractions can be dangerous, right? Now, there wasn't any distractions going on. Like I was on the phone through the car speakers. I don't know what the young lady was doing, but I was on the phone through the car speaker. So hands on the steering wheel, I'm focused. Yet when we think about business, what are those distractions that's dangerous to us, that's stopping us from doing what we're supposed to do to hit our goal? And we gotta have the big thing too, the importance of mental presence and staying grounded. That staying grounded part is so big. We have to stay grounded through the good, through the bad. It's so easy to get ungrounded when things are going great and when things are going bad. We have to try to keep that mental presence and stay grounded. We got to stay focused in that. Right. Whenever things happen, it grounds us. Let's be honest. When they call it, being humbled. So that's quote unquote being humbled means being grounded, depending on the situation. We got to stay grounded. Situations happen, and we're still here. We're still here for a reason. And this reminds me of something that Inky Johnson said, and I'm gonna mix it. I mess it up a little bit, but he said the most underrated thing is making it home every day. Like people take that for granted so much, and they take it for granted where you're able to leave your house and make it home. That like you have, there's a reason you're here. So what are you gonna do with that time you're still here for? Like now that you have that, what are you gonna do different now that I shared my little story, and you have that reminder of, hey, what can go wrong will go wrong. That sometimes we need to take a step back to move forward, and we still got to be grateful for everything. And this little moment, again, it was a little moment, but when you get to a certain point, when you're constantly talking about mindset, perspective, how you respond to things, even the little things like this can trigger something for me to say, okay, you got to get more focused. You got to get more locked in because situations like this happen. What if the situation happened where now the accident was a little bit worse? So now I have to get the insurance involved. I have to, do my part or whatever that looks like for the insurance. So now that's an extra hassle. Now I have to wait to get approved for a rental car. So now I'm figuring out how to do things without a car. Like these are the things that pop in your mind and make you say, "Damn, I am grateful that it turned out the way it did because it could have been a lot worse." And it's that reflection to remember, like, okay, since I have this opportunity, that this is another opportunity for me to keep going, for me to not bullshit around and step it up. And that's all I look at it for me. It's like, okay, bro, step it up. Let's take it to another level. Let's go deeper. Let's get going because God has blessed you with this opportunity to where you don't have to go through those extra steps of calling the insurance company, getting your car towed, figuring out about a rental car, waiting for the insurance company to approve you to get a rental for only 7 days, then figure out what you're gonna do after that. Like I am grateful that I don't have to worry about those things. It was a minor inconvenience, yes, but it also was that thing that put me in the mindset of like, I need to recommit to my purpose, my impact, and my legacy that I'm trying to leave and that I'm trying to create for people. Not only my family, my kids, but for the world, because that's a big thing for me. Or my big why is how many people can I impact in a positive way. So again, I just wanted to, share my situation that happened because again that's what a lot of this podcast is for, is sharing situations, sharing things that happen, you know the breakdown, breakthrough blueprint. We when we have things that happen, we're going to break through, we're going to keep it moving, we're going to look at the good in every situation, we're going to have still have gratitude for things because we know things could be worse, and if we're still here, if we still have the opportunity to do things, it's a reason why, and we cannot play around with that. So it is your boy, Coach Coleman, Jesse Coleman. Thank you for rocking with me again. Solo episode, quick episode, Breakthrough Blueprint, the podcast where we help you tap into your full potential. And I'll see you next week. Peace.